Watch these facets build on one another. First, how to mentor as a guide, then comes the content of what to learn. The third facet to the edge walking metaphor refers to the trickster aspect of Coyote. It involves role modeling, how to act as mentoring guides. Coyote teaches us to go out on a limb, to do things that can seem a little scary, like telling a story in front of a bunch of people, getting completely covered in mud, spending all day playing hiding games in the bushes, or getting your explorers all riled up with excitement. As a trickster, you will embody the same humble curiosity and willingness to stretch beyond your comfort zone that you want to pass on to those you mentor. Like the trickster, being a coyote mentor implies play. Find that child inside of yourself who loves adventure and mysteries and playing outside. Improvise in the moment with courage and humility. Being a coyote guide calls for serious fun. The whole purpose of this book helps you to find your own creative coyote side so you can adapt activities to your personal style, your place, your specific purpose. Play and experimentation are the only way to get there. If you follow the guidance of this book, you'll stretch your own edges continually, growing fiercely into your unique self. So, coyote mentoring involves a commitment to your own journey of self knowledge as well as that of those you mentor. This guide encourages you to let loose your own trickster talents, edge by fragile edge, until you can express them unabashedly. Here's a poem I jotted down in the midst of writing this book. Burn this book. This book is not for anyone to make a banner out of, to quote at length as some new Bible. There's a gentle companion in your own process. A process of dancing alive in the moment, with children, squirrel tracks, and clouds of falling leaf. If anything, let this book bump you along into your own way of doing things, into your own way of being the mentor you already are. This book will teach you a few dances, but we really want you to remember the place where dances are made before the first step. When you start to move to your own steps, burn this book, please. This book is an introduction, not a complete guide. Where these ideas take you will be completely up to you. This book is just the beginning of a conversation we've been having for years, and one that will never stop. Oh, and perhaps it's more sustainable, even regenerative, to pass this book on to another. The Invisible School. In many of the old Coyote stories, the dynamic repeats, with Coyote acting a bit too playful for his own good. With all that play, how can anything get done? But a deeper purpose below the surface can only be realized at the end of the story when, thanks to Coyote's great and bewildering efforts, things are made right. With Coyote mentoring, your deeper purpose unfolds, not all that differently from the trickster stories. To the people you serve, it may seem like nothing but running through woods, playing games, and listening to stories. An underlying intention they never realize lies beneath this surface of evidence. By subtly and invisibly using child passions to get people to practice core routines and so read the book of nature, you engage them in learning without them ever knowing it. You're running an invisible school. John Young coined this term invisible school after completing his college degree studying indigenous cultures' methods of cultivating a continuous and in-depth understanding of natural history within their villages. In his research, he found no formal schools and rarely any formal teachers. Yet everyone he met from such cultures and those documented by anthropologists demonstrated a knowledge of their natural world surpassing any modern PhD in ecology. Today, John realizes this depth of pure understanding goes beyond simple knowledge and far into the realm of connection. Indigenous mentors know how the land breathes and flows through seasons and days. They can track and hunt and make complicated medicines from plants. They can read the weather and navigate by the stars. Their knowledge of and deep connection to place is intricately ingrained in every member of the culture without schools. So how do these cultures teach their youth? How do they connect them so potently to the environment with no schools or teachers? Cultural mentoring. John realized the school of nature lived in the culture itself. Teaching came through the ceremonies that required certain plants to be used and honored the four directions of the sun or the cycles of the moon. The school lived in stories that taught volumes while enchanting listeners. The descriptive, nature-based language spoke through the customs of naming people based on plants and animals. Great teachings flowed from the games kids played and the errands of gathering that grandparents sent them on. Obviously, teachings happened because of the intense need of the whole culture to track or hunt and know a wide variety of plant communities and their uses. All of this together surrounded everyone with an invisible school, instilling an understanding and appreciation of the environment unparalleled by any former education. The people just lived day-to-day life, and nature wove itself into a part of everything, inseparable in their very being. This guide intends to pass on this method of invisible schooling, so people will connect with nature without knowing it. They'll soak up the language of plants and animals as naturally as you or any of us learned our native language. Do you remember learning to talk? Probably not. Spoken language happened around you all the time and allowed you to experiment with words, make mistakes, and every single day grow vocabulary. Mentoring with the language of nature happens just the same. With stories, games, songs, place names, animal names, and more, you invisibly and subtly stretch their language edges. Just like Trickster Coyote, a lot more happens below the surface because you are the cultural conductor. Growth and learning occur so gradually and visibly that people express shock when they finally realize the depth of the education, the connections they have formed. Parents often worry in the beginning, they're just messing around all day. How can they be learning? Then the day comes when they are out in the woods or the backyard trails with their child, who brings plant after plant with detailed knowledge about its uses, or shows them track after track, following and interpreting the trail, or effortlessly identifies trees by name. Parents then become our most ardent supporters. The same story repeats when we work this way with adults. At first they think, this is just wandering around outside, but then they say, this is the most I have learned about nature in my life and is the most fun I've had in years. Nature connection through this kind of mentoring proves to be more than just effective. It is also fun, healing, and empowering. Like the coyote whose methods at first seem unorthodox or even foolish, in the end it works better than anyone could dream. Soon your people will flood the land like a river after a downpour, but my people and I, we are the ebbing tide. This destiny is a mystery to the red man. We might be able to understand it if we knew the white man's dreams, the hopes and expectations about which he talks to his children in the long winter evenings, what visions he engraves in their hearts so that they can look forward eagerly to the coming day. Chief Sealth. Our commitment in this project is restoring the children's trails. Let's dare to try. We'll reintroduce them. We'll catch and rear children, and then we'll release them. John Young. Umau ki I o ka aina I ka pono. The life of the land is perpetuated by the health of the people. The state motto of Hawaii. Using this book, we wrote this book to unveil the invisible school. Our intention reveals the unseen, as Dorothy saw the man behind the green curtain at the end of The Wizard of Oz, so you too can invisibly orchestrate a grand drama of opportunities for the people you guide outdoors. The Mentor's Manual and Activities Guide work hand in hand to show you the multiple intentions that go into designing and guiding a story, a lesson, or a game. As we stated at the very beginning in how to use this book, the idea is not to provide yet another book of recipes. Instead, we want to help you learn how to cook. We want you to see what each activity teaches below the surface and how you can alter or create your own activities to accomplish your specific goals for those you guide. Each activity, therefore, has a key-like hitting of 5 elements of education that are happening invisibly. We designed the remaining chapters of this mentor's manual to carefully explain those elements. Shifting routines and core routines of nature connection explain the practices that learners do. Repeating these invisibly all the time in every way and in every situation develops good habits for connecting with nature. Child passions as mentoring tools, questioning and answering, storytelling, and music making highlight the universal instincts that children and playful adults possess and show how to use these as doorways. through which core routines and knowledge of natural history may enter the lives of children from 1 to 100, that is, everyone. The Book of Nature points to the most fertile places to start when connecting people with natural history and narrows down the infinite possibilities by emphasizing meaningful relationships. Orienting to the natural cycle holds more than one key to understanding this Coyotes Guide. A close study of the cycle's implications for mentoring organization will be worthwhile. The natural cycle of learning conveys a vision of how energies move through a day, a week, or a lifetime, giving you a feel for the rhythm that allows you both to plan and improvise for success. Indicators of Awareness paints a handful of universal character traits fostered through connecting with nature. They describe the goals of coyote mentoring in terms of personal growth that emerges naturally through practicing these routines and activities. Each activity in the activities guide cross-references to the key sections of the mentor's manual. As you choose activities for your lesson plan, consider which core routines to practice through the activity, which child passions to tap into, which parts of the Book of Nature could be emphasized, where the activity fits in the natural cycle, and which indicators of awareness you want to cultivate. This interweaving allows you to adapt your own activities in your own local ecosystem. Altogether then, Coyote's Guide happens in the way of Coyote by guiding from behind the scenes. Just as the coyote disappeared that day with me and Redmond, once you wake up the edge stretching curiosity inside each person you mentor, you can step away. Once people break out of their indoor comfort zones, develop habits of awareness, and realize their own fascination to learn more, nature will do the rest. Coyote's Challenge. By naming Coyote as our guide, we are invoking something that challenges each of us to grow. Coyote challenges us to break from old habits of awareness and to see with fresh eyes, brightly calling us to reimagine how we learn natural history, helping to weave us more strongly into the web of connection between ourselves, our fellow humans, and the creatures and elements around us, motivating us to frolic timelessly in the wilderness, that the fire of curiosity might light every eye, and that myth and play may merge with fact and science, nudging us to take up the scent, the meandering but purposeful trail, to the source of our own self-guidance, to the fount of unique gifts that each person carries. Sharpening our eyes to see beyond the rim of the wild hill, beyond the skyline where the modern world fades against the setting sun sky, to the possibility of a long and healthy human existence on this earth, a conscious regeneration of land and culture for generations to come. Warren and I tried to take this book in another direction that day, just before I drove into Redmond. But thank goodness Coyote showed up to change our minds. Coyote doesn't distract from what we want to say. It is what we want to say. The archetype of Coyote empowers radical medicine, root-based environmental education that restores the original bond between humans and the rest of nature. We have never needed it more than now.